Well, that's unexpected. I didn't think it would start in here, but anyway. Normally it sends me to YouTube before it starts, but it just started. So here we are on May the 12th. And discovered that yesterday I had the YouTube feed set for private. Hopefully I fixed that. So if you are on YouTube and you see this, let me know, because yesterday I wondered why I didn't have anybody on YouTube, and that would be why. So it's about 9 degrees, heading up to 20 today, so a nice day, although a little bit of cloud. I thought I'd take a bit of a turn downtown today. Haven't walked down there for a bit, so that's where we're headed. Little bits of dirt on the sidewalk here. There was a fellow who was aerating yards yesterday, and of course that was just when I thought I'd go outside and work, because it was nice in the backyard. And I barely sat down when it started up in the neighborhood, and it was annoying enough I moved inside. So working on the Tangled Stars. Hope to get a lot done today. I had some other stuff yesterday, but nothing really pressing today, so I'm able to focus on that. That's my new space opera for DAW books. Let's see, I haven't really tried to synopsize it yet. Main character is named Cooper Douglas. Coop to his friends. He's a bit of a rogue. He's done some, well, he likes to call it pre-salvage. Everything becomes salvage eventually. He just salvages it before it gets to that point, which is another way to say he steals it. So he's very good at figuring out ways to steal things. But he's actually doing a legitimate salvage run out in the outer system, where he's been living for 10 years. When he discovers, by almost being destroyed by it, that something called the MAST Prime has reopened. MAST stands for Multiverse Adjacent Space-Time Tunnel. And it was the way by which, think wormhole, and it was the way that people used to get around in the interstellar community, but they all collapsed when Earth tried to open a second one, MAST Secundus. The whole network collapsed, destroyed all the stations there, destroyed a lot of other stuff in the system. So we have an interplanetary society that used to be an interstellar society. And Coop is the first person to find out that this wormhole is reopened. You need a special ship to go through it. He'd really like to get out of the system because of some a bad guy that's after him, and named Derek Galeotto. So he decides he's going to steal the only functional starship, Pioneer-class starship, one designed to go through these things as soon as they're opened, without needing a station on either end to stabilize the openings. It's mothballed on Earth, and he assembles, he draws in a friend of his back on the moon where he grew up. She has her own agenda that he doesn't really know about too much, but she's a lunar revolutionary, but he doesn't actually know that very much. And then they enlist somebody else who's a former crime boss, and oh yeah, and there's a talking cat, an AI uplifted feline named Tybalt, who's one of my favorite things to write about. So that's kind of the setup. That's your team. They have to steal this starship, escape everybody else that's chasing them, get through the mast, and then find out, which is the part of the book I'm getting closer to now, what lies on the other side of the mast. And the reason it's called the Tangled Stars is because things have gotten very tangled out there in the greater world. Now, I can see that my horizon is quite off, but I don't think I dare try to fix it with the other app. I don't know what that would do to the stream, so I just have to live with it. If it looks like it slopes down slightly to the right, Just pretend that's the actual geography. We're coming up here to Albert Street. Oh, anyway, back to the Tangled Stars. So that's what I'm working on. Still writing it. It comes out next year from Daw Books. You know, assuming I finish it. Well, this is a long light, but we'll have to wait for it. There's the Royal Saskatchewan Museum over there. I've walked by a few times. The building over there is just I think it's actually been built since I've been here, which to me seems like it's a really new building, but on the other hand, I've now lived in Regina for more than 30 years, so I guess it's not necessarily that new. The ticking sound's coming from the walk light here. I don't think it has an actual function. I think it's an audio cue for visually impaired. Lights changing. That's our turn. So walk a bit along College, just one block, and then I'll start zigzagging my way up into downtown. And then I'm of two minds which way I go. Either I go up and walk back up on Dewdney. I've only walked along Dewdney once, so I'm kind of leaning that way. Or I carry on over to the other side of Broad Street and into the neighborhood over there, which I've barely been into as well. And back, so just haven't quite decided yet. Partly it'll depend on where I come out when I zigzag through Center Square here, as it's called. So our first zig, or possibly zag. Well, I bet you I buffered right off the bat because I forgot to turn off the Wi-Fi on the phone, so it would have stuttered as it disconnected. A lot of these, what used to be houses, are now businesses. Not all of them, but a lot of them. It's one reason this is called the transition area. It's supposed to be transitioning from residential to business, but it's been a very slow transition. Mostly the houses are just still here. Perhaps with offices in them. Goes over there. Or this one here. Used to be an art gallery. Is that? I think that's the one that used to be an art gallery. And of course, there have been condos built. This one over here used to be a youth hostel, but now I think it's a law office or something like that. Well, it still says hosteling on it. Oh, it is still a hostel. I might be thinking of another one that I thought was the hostel. There you go. Georgian International Hostel. If you're the sort of person who hostels, not me, not a youth anymore. Wouldn't have been inclined to do that even when I was a youth. Another zig in this direction now. Greener all the time. Seeing the trees. Got several more podcast starting to line up, so some interesting guests to come. I'm debating. I don't know if I will keep doing the podcast beyond the third year. It's been great, but it is a lot of work. And I don't know. Some days I think I should let it go after about 3 years. Some days I think that I really enjoy talking to all these people. Which I do. It's just the work, the hours that go into it. First the interview, and then the transcription, which is done through an automated service, sonics.ai, if you need such a thing. Does a good job, but it still takes probably 4 hours to whip into what I consider acceptable. Cinnaboy Gallery here is a wonderful art gallery. I recommend. And then probably another hour to, get the episode assembled with the theme music and my intro and outro and all that. So 5 or 6 hours, 6 or 7 hours, sometimes more, if the transcription isn't very clean. And the only return I get on that is whatever marketing effect it might have on my books, which is nil as far as I can tell. And I have no memory of that building, so it may be, it looks old, but I don't remember it being there. Must have been. Oh well. Yeah, that's the challenge. What else do I get out of it? Well, I've gotten the anthology that I kickstarted last year, and the one I kickstarted this year, and hopefully one I'll kickstart next year. And yeah, that's brought in some money, but if I divide it by hours involved, you should never do that as a writer, as a freelance, especially a fiction writer of novels. Unless you're a bestseller, you don't want to know the hourly rate. It is not good. Clearly they're doing some work in there. Should renovate that, because it looks like it's completely empty, and there's a big Loras bin out front. I mentioned before, over there is Ripplinger's, which is kind of an art gallery and gift store. Has a coffee shop or cafe attached. This is Lawrence Street coming up. I could wait and cross at the sidewalk, but I mean at the stop sign, but I'll be daring risk the heavy traffic. Warren Drugs over there, another old apartment building past that. That's the one we were just walking by there. Oh, we'll go up the other side, I think. Tangerine here on the corner is a nice coffee shop and restaurant. I think next week in-person dining returns. They said May 17th. This is a seniors type residence, assisted living of some sort, I think. Never been in there as far as I know. Looking up Lorne now. All these streets are one way down here. Most of them anyway. There's some that were one way downtown that are now two way. That still catches me by surprise once in a while. Not as much as when they first made the change. but you get used to something and then they change it. It's a bit confusing for a bit. There are countries where they went from driving on the right side of the road to the left side of the road. I mean, other way around, probably. Just at, you know, at noon on some day, everybody had to turn around and get over to the other side of the road. Something like that. I've seen pictures of mass chaos in a country that did that a long time ago now. If anybody's watching live on Facebook or YouTube, let me know. Haven't had a hello yet. It's the Salvation Army Center, Haven of Hope Ministry Center, headquarters, I guess you'd call it, in the Salvation Army, something like that. Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Saskatchewan used to be over there, but they're out in Harbour Landing now. But when I wrote their history book, A Safe and Prosperous Future, that's where they were based, which was handy for meetings. I did their history book, and then I did the Saskatchewan Land Surveyors Association history. And then I did Saskatchewan Mining Association history. And then I did another book for the Saskatchewan Mining Association about their mine rescue competition they do every year. And those are all great. But there's been a couple of other those kinds of things that I have applied for and not gotten. So it's nice when I do get one. Nothing else has come. There were kind of a rush of them because we were at the centennial of the province in 2005. So of course there were a lot of organizations that were similarly marking a centennial, or just wanted to get their history out. I think for the Mining Association, it was actually their 50th anniversary when I did it a few years ago. And same for the mine rescue competition. This path will take us past the Hotel Saskatchewan. Now a Marriott. For a long time you said Hotel Saskatchewan Radisson Plaza. Not anymore. It's a Marriott, part of their signature collection, I believe. Of course, it started life as a railway hotel. I think it was, I don't know. I think it was CP originally. CP Hotel, not a CN Hotel. Pretty sure. I should know, but you know. This, been in this space here a lot. This is the Administration Center for Sport, Culture and Recreation, and they print things. So many of the programs I've worked on, and I've designed a ton of programs over the years for various organizations. That's right, send them to be printed, and then sometimes I'll be picking them up as well. The lyric show that I was in, Flip the Script, Broadway in Reverse, where if you go elsewhere on my YouTube channel, you will find videos of my wife and I singing a duet. We did Sue Me from Guys and Dolls. My daughter Alice singing Tonight at 8 from She Loves Me. And then me doing, excuse me, me doing Maria, How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria, from The Sound of Music. All 4 parts, all 4 nuns. I recommend you check that out. It's the Hotel Saskatchewan. Right behind those windows is the hotel lobby lounge, where I really love to go and write, and I can't do it right now. It really has, I think, what are they doing on Scar Street? It really has interfered with my writing. Looks like the sidewalk is gone on the other side, so I'll definitely cross this side. So this is Scar Street. I used to call them the Twin Towers, but now there's 3 of them. Hayward Tower there. Coffee shop in the bottom of that I write in all the time. That used to be the, well, still is, the federal government building. And over here is Sas Power Building, which is currently having its facade redone, it looks like. The shiny building, the shorter building toward us here, is fairly new. Since when I first moved here, there was still an old style movie theater on that corner, which had been at one point one of the main theaters of any kind in Regina, and did plays and stuff were done in there. In fact, Boris Karloff, Frankenstein frame, was in town doing a play when the tornado hit in 1912, or he'd just been there, and he got stranded because the company disbanded, and he was actually here for the tornado and then worked on one of the crews cleaning up afterwards, which was the subject in its turn of a musical written by his name has escaped me. Anyway, it was done by Regina Summer Stage. Oh, look, flowers, blooms on the bushes, those blooming bushes. And there's a fence. Why is there a fence? It's not usually. Oh, it's because of the work going on over here. We got all the sidewalk torn up in front of the federal building. Anyway, this behind the fence is Victoria Park, which I've walked through before. And on the other side over here, there are various businesses and restaurants and things. Liquor store that I've never even been in. That looks down towards the cenotaph. It's another lonely walk. Not a comment from anyone this morning. That's the Scar Street pedestrian wall in front of us. But I'm not going down that, because I'm zigzagging. It's over here, the Canada Life building, which was the Crown Life building, but that's where the theater was when I first moved here. It's on that corner. I guess over 30 years, things have changed a bit. All right, we're not going down the mall here. We'll zig to the right. This is where the outdoor farmers market is. In fact, that's today. And there's a small amount of it way down at that end. It gets bigger. Well, in the normal year, it was quite normal, pretty normal last year. I assume this summer it'll be back to normal pretty much. As the year goes along, vaccinations going up. $20.10 here. It's a nice restaurant if it has survived. I wouldn't lay odds on it having survived, but we'll see. I hope it has. This brings us to Hamilton. Banks on 2 corners. 3 corners, really. There's actually a bank in the window left, too. We'll take a turn up Hamilton here. Oh, Roger, you're always there. So this is Hamilton. These are mostly new along here. They built this tower, and at one point that tower and all the low buildings in between were redone or replaced. So very new on that side of the street. But this is an old one here. The Leader Building used to be where the newspaper was. That's why it's called the Leader Building. And I think I visited the leader post in this building on a school trip, field trip, high school field trip. I don't think that's what made me want to go into journalism, but I did go into journalism, so maybe it had some influence. Colin O'Brien here. I buy a lot of clothes here. Good men's shop. Jessica Bridal. Don't buy a lot of clothes there. Like, just not my style. Hong Kong Bank is going in here. Used to be TD was in here, then TD moved. So more banks here. On 3 of the corners there's a bank. CIBC to my left, Royal Bank kitty corner. Here's the public art of the flock of geese. Walked by before. So City Hall, old City Hall, was actually where this modern building is over here now. Beautiful old red brick, Tyndall stone kind of building, but it didn't last long. I think they tore it down in the 50s, maybe sooner, maybe the 60s. This is an old hotel. What's that, Roger? Gotta get your exercise somehow. Yeah, virtual exercise is the best. Holiday Inn Express. What this is now. But it's actually quite an old hotel, been there a long time. And it's bigger than it looks from the front. When we get over here and turn around, you'll see it's actually quite large. Goes down a long way. That goes back to the heart of downtown down there. But we're going this way. So yeah, that's where Old City Hall used to be. The original City Hall. Which I never saw. I've only seen pictures. Whenever you see a picture, you think, why don't we still have that? But I guess the building had serious problems by the time they took it down. If you'd like to join the Canadian Forces, you can do it in there. Restaurant I've never been in, Four Seas here. I don't think I've ever been in that one. They do tend to look alike, some of these small Asian restaurants. There's a lot of them. They all have good food. At least everyone I've been in has really good food. I know, that sounded terrible. All Asian restaurants look alike. That's a comment on the buildings. There's the Delta over there. That's the tallest building in Regina. Outdoes City Hall and the Twin Towers further down the street. And ahead of us is what used to be the train station and is now Casino Regina. I actually did an opera in there after it was a train station, but before it was Casino Regina. Prairie Opera out of Saskatoon was doing I think it must have been the Merry Wives of Windsor, which we had done at Shakespeare on the Saskatchewan. Must have been. And we performed it in here, which was a lovely venue, but way too echoey. I mean, it sounded good in your ear coming back to you, but it made the words, which are already hard enough to understand, even though it was an English opera, English language. I'm going to go across instead of going up to the... Made the words really hard to understand. Still, it was kind of cool to do that. I remember it when the trains were still running, but you can still take a train across Canada, but you have to get it in Melville or Saskatoon in Saskatchewan. Over there is their theater now, which I've only been in a couple of times, mainly because they don't let anybody under 19 in there. And of course, our daughter only turned 19 last year. Regina didn't want to go to things that we couldn't take her to for most of that time. So I think I was only ever at one show in there. Forever Plaid, I think I saw there. I actually had a chance to get a free ticket to an Oak Ridge Boys concert. I interviewed them for the Regina Leader Post. Well, not them, one of them, the bass. And they offered me a ticket, but I couldn't take advantage of it. I was tied up. I don't think that would have been unethical. It wasn't a review, it was just an advance story. I did quite a few of those for a while. Interviewed lots of interesting people like Ben Hepner, and Weird Al Yankovic, others. That's the thing about being a freelance writer. You get things and they last for a while and then they go away. And that went away. Well, let's see. I think I'll stick with my original plan, which is to go under the railway tracks and walk down Dewdney to get home when I start heading back west again. Walk through the parking lot, but not too far because you have to step down over here. So then they have the locomotive over there, and the dining car behind it is actually to the right of the Casino Regina sign there is actually a restaurant, or has been anyway, called Van Horn's. Whether it's still there or not, I don't know, because as I said, I've only ever been in the casino itself once. Doubled my money though. The Rough Riders in Casino Regina had this deal one year where, how did that work? Somehow they gave you how did that work? Somehow if you took it in, you got like $10 worth of quarters for $5. The theory being that you would then feed the quarters into the slot machines. What I did was, I went in with my $5, got my $10 worth of quarters, and left. So I doubled my money, which almost nobody else who goes into the casino can say. The house always wins. I don't think that's what they had in mind. A little noisy down here. So this takes us under the railway tracks. Car with a barely legal muffler went through while I was down there. That was really annoying with the echo off of the steel beams overhead. All right, now we're going to walk straight down Dewdney to my left. once I get across. I don't want to walk down this side. You don't really have a sidewalk the whole way on this side, I don't think. One of those places you want to stay well away from the curb. Cars go by really close. Looks like I'll get the light still, so that's good. Country Corner Donuts corner here. It used to be part of the city power when the city had its own power generation a long time ago. That's what that building was connected to over there. So you got a mattress store on our left, and then past that, Rebellion Brewing, one of our local craft brewers. They do good stuff. I like their amber ale. Used to serve it at the Hotel Saskatchewan, so I would sometimes have some of that while writing in the lounge, which, as I mentioned earlier, was a favorite hangout of mine, and maybe again one of these days. So you get a lot of these old warehouses along here. It's called the Warehouse District to my right, because at one time when homesteaders were coming in the early part of the 20th century, a lot of the stuff that they would need would have come into these warehouses, and there was a rail line behind them, long gone, so that the sidings where carloads of stuff could be delivered behind these big warehouses. Yeah, Roger says the feed was good under the underpass. It was glitching more downtown. I don't know what drives it. It's probably downtown with the tall buildings. You're getting some blockage here and there. Oh, and there's downtown on the other side. That's our skyline. I mean, that's it, all of it. That's the entire skyline. Over there, of course, the white dome is Mosaic Stadium, which I've walked to before and will walk to again. Long straight bit here. I led a couple of walking tours of this area too. But again, as with my book, Historic Walks of Regina and Moose Jaw, I'd have to have the book or my notes with me to remember everything. I remember snatches. And probably when I do say things, sometimes I get it wrong because I'm remembering wrong. So don't take anything I say as gospel, except that's the skyline of Regina. You can take that as gospel. If I say, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, you can take that as gospel. Scar Street. Lots of red brick along here. And Tyndallstone. Which, if I stop to look, I'm sure I'd find fossils in, because Tyndallstone is packed with fossils, seashells mostly, since it's part of an old seabed. Sometimes you'll see larger things in it that look like fossils. And even the pattern in it, I think, is technically like fossilized wormholes or something like that. So, it's a guitar store here I've never been in. I have a guitar. I can't play it, but I have one. I keep meaning to take it up again. I've been meaning that for 33 years now. Bushwhackers, best brew pub in Canada, and one of the oldest, longest running. Was started by Bev Robertson, who was a University of Regina physics professor, and was also on the board of the Saskatchewan Science Centre when I started work here in Regina as communications officer of the Science Centre. Saw that the Science Centre got some infrastructure or some sort of funding. You know, we're awash in government money at the moment. Inflation is going up. But hey, in any event, I'm happy to hear that the Science Centre got some funding for renovations. So that was my first job, and it was just getting off the ground, and I wrote most of the exhibit copy. I would still say of everything in there, I wrote at least half, maybe 2/3 of what's still visible to the public. So when the executive director, Sandy Baumgartner, posted something about it on Twitter, I had to reply and say, you know, I'm available if you need somebody to write exhibit copy. And this is Brewed Awakening, a coffee shop I've been to many times. And she came back and said something to the effect that, you know, all the best exhibit copy was what I'd written, or words to that effect. So they very well might, so who knows, maybe I'll get some work out of that. It'd be cool to write for the Science Centre again. I haven't for quite a few years, but even after I left, I did a lot of exhibit copy freelance as new things came along. Hotel over there, and a tavern I've never been in. Used to be a barbecue restaurant here, but it didn't last long. Here we are on the railroad tracks. So basically, when the tornado hit in 1912, it more or less came right down the railroad tracks here. Not from that direction though. It came from downtown. And when I did the walk, I remember this building. The guy who prepared the notes thought that, looking at old records, that probably the top part of that building was heavily damaged and was rebuilt. So that's a pretty new restaurant over there. And the keg over there is reasonably new too. There's supposed to be redevelopment going on all on the old railway land back there, but much sign of it except for that hotel, which has been up for a while now. Is anybody on YouTube this morning? I would like to hear from you. If so, because yesterday I accidentally had it set private, and I hope I've changed that. I'll find out when I get home. It's possible it was set at private again, in which case I'll have to pay a little more attention tomorrow when I start it. But I was going to do that today, and it just started without sending me to YouTube as it normally does, so I'm just not sure. So if you are on YouTube seeing this live, let me know. I would appreciate it. Even if it's just to say hi. I'll walk down this side of the street because I've walked down the other side before. I think. Or should I walk down the other side? Because maybe I walked down both sides. I've been down here twice, so it's possible I've done both sides. I think I'm pointing a little more to the ground as my arm gets tired. Well, they also be based on what the lights tell me, but at the moment I can still go this way, which I will. And now heading south on Albert. Subway there. Not a Subway, but a Subway sandwich place. B-sharp music over there has been there forever. There's the keg. And you can see downtown again. The shiny gold building is Saskatchewan Government Insurance headquarters. The big one. The other shiny gold one is Hostel, where my wife works as an engineer. Not that she's working in the office at the moment, but maybe in June it sounds like they might be back in the office. Oh, yes, and that guy's been on that treadmill for a couple of decades now, at least. His clothes changed. I don't know if they've ever changed the mannequin or not. This building over here, Regina Center Crossing, it's called now, and has a whole bunch of different things in it, including a Subway and a Starbucks. What if they moved the Subway? I bet you they did. Probably came out of here, and it's now where that new one was, because it wouldn't make sense to have two that close. Anyway, there used to be a Subway in there, and my daughter's dance classes used to be on this side of the street. Third building down, I guess. The one with the kind of exterior staircase shape going up. Dance classes were up there. So if we needed food for her, we would often get it from the Subway. Right here. But it's not here. I think it must have moved back there. Anyway, and there's a big Starbucks in there and a whole bunch of various offices and things. But no superstore anymore. There isn't a downtown grocery store anymore. Closest one is probably the 13th Avenue one that we shop at. So over there's, that was where the studio was in that building. But it's not quite downtown. Come on, point straight ahead. There we go. Well, I don't know what's going on YouTube. I'll have to take another look at the settings. It did start unexpectedly today. Not the way I expected it to start. It's done that a couple of times, and I have no idea what the difference is. Doesn't really matter. Most people watch the replay if they're going to watch these, and that'll be up in a couple of hours. With no glitching. The nice thing about the live stream is if people check in, like Roger, I'm not quite so alone. There's Mosaic Stadium peeking up over there again. So back under the railway tracks. Don't know if I'll make that light or not. It's been green for a long time. I'll probably start counting down before I get there. We'll see, maybe not. Yeah, there it goes. It's not even counting. That's all right, we'll go to the other side. One of the busier intersections in town. Oh, I totally could have made that, but oh well. The This side's more interesting to walk anyway, and I might get off of Albert and go down Angus instead. Watch the cars go by. This one counts down. And I don't think this even has a cross button, it just changes automatically. First you have to wait for the left turns. There you go. I can't seem to keep this thing pointing the way I want today. Burger King, well, Robin's Donuts drive-through, I guess. We're getting their morning coffee and whatnot. It's nothing like a good big whatnot in the morning. As I said before, used to be a movie theater on that corner. It's long gone. I can remember seeing, for example, when they did the re-release of Star Wars with the new additions. It's right there. It's gone now. I think we'll go over here and walk down Angus just to avoid the traffic noise. Said there's always geese. No matter where you walk, you're liable to encounter geese. It's having a stroll. Why did the goose cross the road? To get to the Burger King, of course. Oh, here we'll walk down this way. So exciting. City Hall over there. Apartment building on my right. The one on the left has various things in it, including the passport office. You need a passport, that's where you go. Used to be a gelato place. That's what I remember in there. It's gone. That real urban feel walking down the alley. Could be New York. I could be the walking commuter walking in Manhattan. I'm not. He's the guy that inspired all this. Oh, see, when I straighten out my arm, that's why I keep adjusting it, because my hand has been drooping. That maybe? I'm gonna cross again here, so I might as well if I can. Oh, there we go. Last time I couldn't see a name on the church. Now I can tell you. It is First Karen Baptist Church. First Karen? Really? Not a name you usually see on a church building. First Karen Baptist Church. Who is Karen? Especially right now when people make fun of the name Karen. As someone who's a busybody, I don't think, surely that's not why it's called First Karen. Surely not. That's so odd. I've never seen a church named like that. And the questions it raises: is there a second Karen Baptist Church? Is there a first Doug Baptist Church? Is there a first Edward? I mean, there's a good name. Perhaps I should found my own church, the Church of Edward. Oof. Again, need to watch my feet. So I noticed yesterday, a couple of days, that I had a sore leg, and I finally realized it was because I had missed a step during a walk on the weekend and taken that jolting almost fall where your foot's expecting the ground to be at one level and is actually below that level. I did that, and I think that's why my knee hurt for a couple of days. I could still feel it, but not bad. Crossing here on Victoria, which of course is the one with the big boulevard down the middle that I've walked along several times. We're staying on Angus today. Also interesting, the YouTube feed is slightly, Roger tells me, ahead of the Facebook feed. I did set the YouTube feed to low latency so that there's not like a minute between people posting comments and me seeing them potentially. I would have thought Facebook was, well, I guess maybe it's roughly the same level of latency. I smell something cooking. It's coming from the Cathedral Social Hall over there to my left. It's so early. What are they doing? Cooking lunch? There's no in-person dining. It could be coming from somewhere else. There's a couple of things over there. The other side of the street here is still some houses and apartments and so forth. And this is 13th. I think I'll just stick to Angus, assuming I can get across here. Building on the left there is the Artesian, which is a former church that's now a performance space, and I've performed or been involved with performances there many times. And they have a nice lounge, and I use that for a book launch, and may do so again. It's nice because you can have a bar. They take the bar proceeds, and you don't have to worry about the license and everything, but you can offer it to people who come. It went over really well. I usually sing at my book launches. When I launched Door into Fairy, the 5th book of the Shards of Excalibur series, I did it at the Artful Dodger, an unfortunately now gone establishment, which had a stage and had music in there quite often, the piano, and I performed The Road Goes Ever On. The Road Goes Ever On, which is a collection of poems by J.R.R. Tolkien, set to music by Donald Swan of Flanders and Swan Music Hall fame, if you've ever heard them. I've done that several times. I got the book with this music in it a long time ago, and I've never done it from memory, oddly enough. I always do it. The main reason is that noisy thing went one way and then it turned around and came back the other way. Trailer. The main reason is one song, which is about 8 minutes long and has a lot of words in it. Starts, there was a merry messenger, a passenger, a terrier. He built a gilded gondola to wander in and had in her a road of yellow oranges. Not a road, a load. Load of yellow oranges and porridge for his provender. He perfumed her with marjoram and cardamom and lavender. And it goes on from there. A lot of words. I think I could do it, but I've never thought it was worth the risk, I guess, because it's a kind of a piece. The whole thing is a song cycle, and it's kind of something that's perfectly suited to just standing up there behind a music stand and singing. And the last time I did it, and the best time I've done it, but there's no recording, I wish I had somebody record it, was for the Saskatchewan Public Library as part of my stint there as writer-in-residence in 2019-2020. And Deborah Buck, who's a musician I've known a long time up there, we performed. She played my wife in Tent Meeting at the Station Arts Center in 2000. And she's the one who got me involved with the Canadian Chamber Choir, which she's sung with for a long time. More than I have. I've only gone on 3 or 4 tours and nothing recently. I think I'm kind of done. They probably think I'm too old. Anyway, I did it with her. I'd also performed with her in, let's see, Beauty and the Beast. She was the music director. So I've known her a long time. And she's a brilliant accompanist. She also accompanied me when I did my welcome reception, where I sang. And in fact, you can find that on my YouTube channel in the theater section. And that does include at least one song from the Tolkien collection, the Tolkien song cycle. Flanders and Swan, if you don't know them, the other song of theirs I used to do, but my daughter says I should stop doing it. She may be right in current climate. It's called Have Some Madeira, Madeira, which you may have heard of. About an old lech who gets a young girl drunk. So I can see why she thinks perhaps it's not a song of this time, for sure. And the other one is, they have one about, well, it's actually Mozart's Horn Concerto, is the music, basically. But it's, I once had a horn and I once had a whim and I had to obey it to buy a French horn at a second-hand shop. I polished it up and I started to play it in spite of the neighbors who begged me to stop. That's how it starts. It's very funny. I worked it up to perform for a fundraiser for the symphony. I was working with David McIntyre, and I think Diane Burrows was performing at that, and I don't know what happened, but somehow that fell through and it never happened, which is too bad. Long time ago now. Pretty much everything I've talked about on here was a long time ago now, except for the writer-in-residence stuff at the Saskatchewan Public Library and the Regina Lyric Musical Theatre performance, which was just last weekend, and excerpts from which, involving the Willett family, you can find on my YouTube channel or on my Facebook page. Almost back. How long have I been walking? Well, this one did a little over an hour. Not too surprising. Recycling truck coming the wrong way down that one-way street, actually. Behind me. Oh, now he's backing up. Well, at least he's backing up the right way. And of course, this is Angus Crescent. I've walked it down many times because we live here. I'll walk down this side for a change. It's a gaggle of school children. I wonder where they're going. Probably to the park, headed in that direction. Do children come in gaggles, or are they herds or flocks? It's a giggle of girls. It's just a bunch of boys, I think. boisterousness of boys. I don't know if there's actually a proper collective now. I've always thought a giggle of girls would work for a certain age of girl. Here's, of course, a murder of crows. Oh, and there's one for cats that seemed highly appropriate, but now I can't remember what it was. I want to say a terror of kittens, but that doesn't sound right. Oh well. Make up your own. The elms are very slowly turning green. It's just like this faint veil of green up there. But it won't be long now before they're out. By the end of the month, it'll all be fully green with that nice, fresh spring green. And later on, you get the old, tired, late summer green. And you start to see yellow leaves, usually in like late August. And then September, October is the big drop. When you live in this neighborhood, there's always a lot of leaves to rake, or to have raked. I've gotten to the point where I'm willing to pay quite a bit of money to have people clean my yard, rather than do it myself. They do a better job, and I don't have to do it. So if I can afford it, why not have somebody else take care of that? All right, almost there. So thanks, Roger, at least, for walking with me on Facebook. If anybody else is there, thank you for watching live. Even if you didn't say hi, I forgive you. And if you're watching the recording, I hope you enjoyed that little jaunt through downtown and along Dewdney. And that'll do. So I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.